So do you hear that guy in the background? That's JT. I'm at JT's like epic crib, and he's going through crush worms.
I started out going through flat-sided shad.
That's what you want, the flat side. I'm trying to teach him about mid-strolling, dude, like hover strolling.
Is the drifter or not?
No, it's got to be the flat-sided shad.
Are we scrolling? I finally figured that out.
We're mid-stroll. He's the commentator for freaking MLF. He's watched Jacob Wheeler, Dustin Connell, Jacob Wall, all these guys do it. And he's like, no, bro, like, what about that? I'm like, no, bro, it's got to have a straight little pointy tail on it.
That'll work. The lollipop? That'll work.
That'll work. The lollipop will work. Okay, we're not actually going to talk about hover strolling. So if you guys watch the channel, which obviously you do, I thought about fishing the Toyota Series, the MLF Toyota Series. JT is a commentator. I'm actually at JT's crib. Got his Falcon right here. He has an epic crib. Maybe at some point he'll let us do a little walkthrough. But today we're going to tap into his vast wealth of experience. JT, seasoned tournament pro, a very good friend of mine, thankfully, dude. He's pointed me in a lot of great directions, taught me a lot about stuff. But I was going to fish, or thought about fishing Toyota Series, and I decided against it. Pretty much financial reasons, partially because of kind of all the turbulence that's going on with some of the tournament stuff. I think it was the right time, but I'm hoping there will be a right time. So what I thought I'd do this year is kind of study a little bit and ask some questions and maybe learn about maybe some perspectives and stuff that I should understand before I jump into spending freaking $7,000. And there's no better person to ask about it than the guy who's digging through a giant box of net bait with bait fuel for flat-sided shad. So, but let him do that for a bit. But JT, do you have a moment for a question, my friend?
I absolutely do.
So what I'm wondering, man, and you can go as deep or as not deep. I know you like going deep, but as deep or as non-deep as you want to.
I'm a big fella, so.
You are. He's so much. He's like 2 feet taller than me. But what I'm wondering is, you have this vast experience, and as somebody like me, a YouTube guy, and that, what is something or a few things that you wish you would have known about fishing? Not like BFL level stuff, but like Toyota Series. I'm not going to fish an FLW, MLF event kind of thing, but like upper level and pro or pro level events. What is something that you wish you would have known, somebody would have told you about it, to just be better prepared financially, maybe operationally, on the water? Like, throw some advice at me, dude.
So you're specifically talking about what we would reference now as Toyota Series on the MLF side, Bassmaster Open on the Bass side. That's okay.
That and pro-ish level.
Correct. Right. So the stepping stones to get to the upper tier of either one. So first thing, you're probably not going to make it.
Thanks, bro.
But it's just being honest.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm looking for.
And this has nothing to do with Mikey Balls. There is a very small percent of people that actually make it. But that being said, there is a huge amount of people that have an absolute blast, make lifelong friends, lifelong memories. So it's not all peaches and cream, but it's not all terrible either. It's like, if you really love it, you wake up in the morning and all you can think about is competitive bass fishing, is tournament bass fishing, then you need to go fish the Toyotas or the Bassmaster Opens or whatever flips your switch. Like, if you wake up in the morning and boom, and the first thing you think about is catching the next bass, you may be one, and the last thing you think about going to bed at night is how you're catching the next bass, and every minute in between. Everything else is just garbage in your mind. You may be the 1 percentile candidate that actually is going to make it through and make a career in it. But like I said, just because I'm talking about being the next Kevin Van Dam, the next Jacob Wheeler, the next Brian Thrift, the next Kyle Welcher, whatever, like, you don't have to do that to enjoy tournament fishing. Obviously you would enjoy it the more you win, the more you enjoy it. But I know a lot of guys that you've probably never heard of that are successful people, that are happy people in their heart, and they love going and fishing tournaments, and they probably get 2 or 3 checks a year. They're not making money doing it, but they're making awesome friendships, they're making awesome memories. So that's a cool part of it too. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it. But if you think you're going to be the next Kevin Van Dam or Jacob Wheeler, you're not.
No, not at all.
You're not going to.
Not at all.
and a very small percentage of people at the end of the year are actually going to have profited money. I don't compete in tournaments anymore, but the 25, 26 years that I did that, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Those are good words. So I'm right on track because I'm nobody and I'm probably going to fail miserably when I actually do it. But I'm actually okay with that because a part of it's about the experience. Part of it would be about, gathering content for the channel and actually just trying to kind of show a real lens on what that process is. And actually the reality JT is talking about where it's actually not about the money. I mean, you want it to be about the money, but the reality is that more than often doesn't pan out. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is more logistically. I can use some inappropriate words here, but I'm not going to. I'm a mind bleep, let's call it. Like
I'm fine with inappropriate.
Yeah, I know he is. But you should hear how we talk after the videos, dude. But dude, I lose my mind a lot. I'm a scatterbrain. I go left, right. I lose my mind. What's some words of advice on somebody who's kind of a newbie? I don't fish a lot of tournaments, in going in with practice and kind of what your mindset is. Like, I know I hear a lot of guys talk about like, don't try to win. Go and try to like catch your fish, do the best you can with what you got, and if the win's meant to be, it'll come together. Like, do you have any tips for practicing or like sort of the mental approach to it? Because when I go out to shoot a video, catch some fish and that, I'm not always thinking about bigs and that. How do you kind of reframe that when you're in a tournament situation, especially on a lake that you don't know? Like, what's the... I know you've been in some stuff where you're like, I'm going to juice them and I'm going to suck. Oh, yeah. So you kind of got to change your mindset.
So I've definitely been in thankfully, thank the good Lord in heaven that I've won quite a few big national tournaments. Just try to go out and obviously the landscape of tournament fishing with forward-facing sonar and all that stuff it's changing, but yet it's not. Like the best thing that worked for me and a fellow that I fished the Federation back in Maryland with when I was first getting started taught me this. And I didn't even realize it resonated with me, but it did. And he was it's the simplest piece of advice. Just go try to catch as many bass as you can and the big ones will happen. Dude, it couldn't be any. And I want to give one example of that. And it goes back to what I do for a living now with MLF is, so many people say, well, all the fish count format, you fish differently from a 5-fish format and all this stuff. Well, just let me tell you this. Like 85% of the time, because we've kept records since the Bass Pro Tour has been around. Like 85% of the time, and really the only X factor is smallmouth tournaments. So in largemouth tournaments, almost 100% of the time, the guy that caught the most fish, that won in the most fish count format, also had the 5 biggest fish if it would have been a 5-fish format.
That's interesting.
It is. Just go out and try to catch as many fish as you can and the big. Is there certain times of the year, is there certain situations where you'll go, oh no, because you could go catch 101 pounders, but you do this all day, you'll catch 5 big? Sure there is. Nothing in fishing is set in concrete, doom, doom, doom. It doesn't happen like that. But I'm just talking day in and day out in generalities. Go out and try to just get the most bites that you can get. I don't care if it's on a spinnerbait, a shaky worm, what are we doing? Scrolling hover strolling, whatever we're doing tomorrow, which is going to be awesome. I'm actually stoked about it because I've watched Dustin Cannell and Jacob Wheeler do it, and now I get to go do it tomorrow. I got a little dance going on, but because I just love learning new stuff. I just do. But just going out and getting the most bites that you can. And the other thing too is the dock talk thing really is true. Like when you first start fishing tournaments, you first start traveling around, you hear all this dock talk, and you're like, oh really? Yeah. Oh yeah, a pink dot on the front of the worm really makes it better. Dude, a bass is a bass, whether it's in Vermont or Florida. Of course, there's little nuances here or there, whatever. A damn bass is a bass, okay? No matter where it is. Dude, you could take green pumpkin and black and blue for all your plastics, except for when the shad are spawning, have some white stuff. And if you're somebody that likes sight fishing, have some white things in there. Other than that, black and blue, green pumpkin, all day, chartreuse and white with some spinnerbaits. And I guess we're gonna learn mid-strolling, and all that is about shad and bait fish. So all those could be some variants of white. And that's really all the tackle that you need. I guarantee you there's some lake, because there's some guy watching this right now in Louisiana going, you can't catch them on anything but Bama bug in our lake. Well, you know what? Bama bug probably is the best color in your lake, whatever. But I guarantee you I could go there and throw green pumpkin or black and blue and still catch a bunch of fish. It may not be as perfect. I'm just saying generalities when you're touring, when you're going all over the country, lake to lake to lake. Super clear water, you might want some morning dawn in your boat, but like there's a lot of stuff that you could just take out of your boat. And that's not great for the tackle industry to be selling a million different colors of stuff. That's just facts of life. So there you go. Think about that one for a minute.
This is right.
Right? Like, see, I almost had Mikey Ball stumped right there.
Like sitting here going,
Doesn't happen all the time.
Maybe I'll get a couple more miles an hour out of the nitro. We'll see. Because I keep way too much stuff, but that's how I roll. So the last thing, and you kind of mentioned it too, and it plays off our second thing. I get spun out by listening to people in that. So this is kind of a personal question. I mean, you're a friend, so I'm going to have some personal advice. I feel like I'm a little bit better being alone, and I might fail harder, but I feel like I do better when I actually do better. Sure. When you were traveling, I know you got a bunch of buddies, Luke Clausen, Thrift, you got all these buddies you travel with. Would you recommend for somebody like me, who's kind of you know me pretty well, I'm kind of a scatterbrained, a little tweaker kind of deal. Would you recommend I travel alone, do my own thing, kind of shut off the phone? Like, what was your best approach to practice when it came to dealing with other people and also just dealing with the fish on the water, maybe shaking them off? Like, what was your best philosophy?
So I could give you, I'm gonna have to take that in a couple positions, but one, in fishing and practicing for tournaments, in life in general, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way to anybody out there. If you surround yourself with losers, you're gonna be a loser.
That's a really good point.
It's a fact. If you surround yourself with meth heads and drug addicts and all that stuff, that's what you're gonna be.
Yeah.
Like when your dad told you that when you were young, he told you that for a reason, because it's true. Obviously, rooming with a bunch of guys is much more cost effective. But if you can room with a bunch of guys, and I'm not talking about beating them up for information. I'm just talking about just being around successful people, whether it's tournament fishing or in life, breeds being successful. It just
That's
does.
a really good point.
Yeah, it just kind of does. So if you can surround yourself, and I'm not saying go ask Jacob Wheeler if you can room with him or Kevin Van Dam or whatever. I'm just saying, even if you're just talking about going to BFLs, if you can get in with a group of guys that typically does pretty well, that's what I would do. Or like Mikey's talking about, just go by yourself and just do your own thing. There's so much internet research out there now that you can do, where when I was first coming into it was in the mid 90s, and there wasn't there was hardly any internet research to do at that point. Hell, we didn't even have cell phones at that point, you know what I mean? So, or if you did, it was a big bag phone in your trunk or something. But yes, I would try to surround myself with good people if I'm going to stay with successful people. If I'm in a room with a bunch of guys, or just go do your own thing and just do as much homework as you can, as many searches as you can. And one thing, so Mikey and I were talking about this earlier today. This is serious business. Go in the local tackle shop. If there's a good local tackle shop that sells all the tournament stuff, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about Walmart and junk like that. I'm talking about going to the real tackle shop. Look at the pegs for the time of year. Don't look at the frogs when it's just ice out, right? Go to the Demiki rig aisle at ice out. You know what I mean? Go to the frog aisle at post spawn.
Instead of June or something. Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying go to what should be the pattern, and figure out which SKU, which all the baits are gone. Figure out what that is and get some of those. Whether there's one frog left, buy that one or whatever, because that's what all the locals are buying. And I know I'm kind of contradicting a little bit what I said by, you could just take green pumpkin and black and blue and this and that, and that's 100% fact. You can, but if there are those little tweaks, those little local things that the locals have figured out, that's a super easy way. Go in the tackle shop, and every SKU that doesn't have hardly anything on it or is empty, Dude, how many online retailers, I'm not going to name them all, but have next day air, second day air shipping?
Yeah.
You're a tournament. Figure that out. Get on your phone. Give me 3 of those, 3 of those, and 3 of those.
Yeah, and the bait peg doesn't lie.
Right,
The guy at the counter might, but the bait
guy
peg
at the counter
doesn't. Yeah.
lies at the bait
Yeah.
shop. Just fact.
Yeah.
I did it my whole life. Fact. Guy at the bait counter lies because he wants to sell whatever is the full peg.
Yeah.
You don't want the full peg. You want the peg that's empty.
So we're gonna wrap this thing up. This is really good advice, dude. My buddy JT, he has always been a mentor and just a good advice giver. If you guys want to go check him out, go subscribe to him on YouTube. I'll put a link below. It's JT Kenney Fishing on YouTube.
Kenny Fishing.
There's
Just like Mikey said, I'm a giver. Just remember that.
He's a good dude, man. Hey, we've been doing this for quite a long time. But hit like and subscribe for me. We're probably going to do some more questions because this is one question leads to more questions. You know how it goes. But I want to get as much insight on this tournament stuff as I can before I kind of make that leap, whether it's next year or the year following. And JT is a great resource, and there's other great resources we'll tap into out there. So we will see you next time. Hopefully talking more to the Ginger Ninja, but definitely out fishing. Later, boys.